Hi, Timmy. My name is Leahy. I'm your host as usual. Today I am with David Bailey, who is an sort of everything kind of filmmaker, right? Like a writer, director, producer. And we're going to talk about some of the projects he's worked on and his current ones. So let's start off by asking, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. It's all the rain is gone from LA. The sun's back out. It's like the end of February. We're good to go until next October.
Yeah, we're getting some sun up there, and it's lovely. It's lovely. Okay, so let's start off by I want to ask you how you got your start in film because it's pretty interesting what you told me.
Well, so my cousin and my friends would make horror movies when we were younger, and we would kill off like my grandma. We killed off my grandma one time. I forgot to tell you this. We made our own version of Friday the 13th. And my 70-something-year-old grandma at the time was chasing my cousin with a stick, trying to kill him. It was hilarious. And then in her death scene, he shoots her and she's on the ground. So we did one camera move where she's on the ground, it comes back up to him, and then we look back to her. And when we go back down, she's dusting off dirt. She didn't know she was on camera. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
So then I did that for a while and then won a car for a video that I wrote and shot and sold the car to go to Florida film school and got in a car with three buddies of mine and we took off to LA. We didn't have a place to stay, so we got here and we stayed at the Vagabond Inn for 7 nights, and if we would have stayed 2 more nights we would have got the 10th night for free, but luckily we found a place in Beverly Hills to move into.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What was the film scene like when you move in, especially with your friends? It must be like touring in a band or something, right?
It was crazy. I remember there were so many crazy stories when we, because we drove from Florida out here, and it was I don't know, 7 days of just wild adventures. There was one night where we were in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and we were in a place called Slaughter Canyon, which is appropriate for us, right? So my buddy had the Ryder truck, and he jumps out of the Ryder truck. We just got into the camp. There's nobody around, right? For miles. Jumps down, and in the same move, he goes, "Just lock the keys in the Ryder truck." And so the Ryder truck was we thought it was going to run out of gas. It took them 2.5 hours to come find. We didn't even know where we were.
Oh, it was on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I forgot to say that. Yes, it was on, and he locked it in. It was wild. Yeah. That was a fun night.
Yeah.
Good memories.
Yeah.
Good memories.
So I know. So you start off with this family that is into horror and stuff. Did you get scared as a kid, or was it inspiring? Because I know you worked a lot in horror.
I don't think my family was into horror. It was just that I was.
Okay.
I was. I got them to do my movies and got them. I'd kill my mom off in the woods and. She would scream, for her death, and then be immediately "Don't call the cops. We're just my son's movie." Oh gosh, I was. You had me. There was one thing I wanted to say, and I can't remember what it was. We were doing movies, and I think the first time we got a really big reaction was we had a fake arm that was chained up to the ceiling, and my buddy rips me away and the arm rips off, and my family was not expecting that at the time. We were just kids making movies. They didn't realize we had any fake arms or anything, and it got such a big reaction that it was I just have to do this. That reaction is what we're chasing as horror movie makers all the time. It's like being in a haunted house and scaring somebody when they come around the corner, and then you brag to the other haunt actors yeah, I got them,
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so where was the arm from? It was a Halloween store?
I think we just got it from Capples, which was a Halloween store in Cincinnati, but it was open year round. So we got it, I think it was February, and we shot it in my dad's basement. It's pretty creepy, and yeah.
So you move out here with your buddies, and how do you get your foot in the door? Because breaking into the industry when you just literally came in a car, right?
Yeah.
How was that?
Came in a car, didn't have a job, and I got my first job by my resume had that I had run the Chicago Marathon, and spent X amount of money on film school. And I got my first job because the person reading my interview or resume was somebody that had also run the Chicago Marathon, and they hired me literally because of that.
Wow. And that's the nature of the industry, huh?
That is the nature of the industry.
Okay. What were those first kind of projects like that you worked on?
Well, it was kind of right after September 11th when I first moved here, so a lot of people were not working, but there was this new thing called reality TV, and it didn't go away. It was I worked on like Temptation Island Part 2, My Big Fat Obnoxious Fiance. I worked on what was the other one? Joe Millionaire too. Oh, and then then I wound up over on the Osbournes.
Yeah, that's
The first season of the Osbournes was crazy because we just did not have any idea that it was going to go wild like that. And when it won the Emmy, there's something I forgot to tell you. I walked around the corner one day and I saw this, I think it was an orangutan, and I was like, what is going on? And Michael Jackson had lent had his like animal trainer bring it over to us as like a congratulations for having won the Emmy, and took it up to everybody in the office, which was wild.
Oh, that's really cool. That sounds like doesn't sound real, but
no, I know. I mean, trust me. I turned the corner and I was like, "What is going on?"
And not like that. And then who sent it? Like you know?
Yeah, right.
That's incredible. So going from that, would you say there's creativity in those types of shows, or did you want to move on to doing something more narrative for yourself?
I think the editors have a lot of creativity on those shows, but I was like kind of in the story department and wasn't feeling the creativity as far as that goes, and so I wanted to move on to making movies myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we talked a little bit upstairs, and I got to know sort of you're very into like comedy, but also horror, like dark comedy genre.
Yes.
Was that something you always wanted to write? Like, did you have those in the back of your head already?
I think so. Like I always struggle because there's a certain part of me that thinks anytime you tell one joke in a horror movie, even one joke, it's like, well, how can I take it seriously when this person's running for their life now? But I kind of saw a couple, like when I first, after Clown Motel premiered, which was one of the first movies that I worked on, the first feature, we went to a bunch of our friends' movies, and it was like, oh my gosh, these people are laughing at some of these jokes. It's like, maybe I need to reevaluate. So I'm actually currently working on a horror comedy right now, and it's like I'm putting as much jokes in there, like interacting with the audience as I can, because it's like, if you can touch them on that level and make them laugh but still be scared, it's like, what power in that, like, amazing.
Yeah. You did tell me about some of the projects you had started working on. Can you tell us about those original ones that you were producing and directing yourself that, now you got all the creativity?
Are we talking about the movies or the TV shows?
The movies. Like
the movies, so Clown Motel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I had gotten bored one summer. I was like, I really wanted to be creative, and so I was like, what can I do? And I was like, I don't have enough money to shoot a big feature, but I can shoot something in my apartment. So I made my own version of Paranormal Activity called Paranormal Cat-tivity, where my cat is like possessed and I've got to try to save him. And the funny thing is, like, the cat, you should really watch it. The cat outacts me. There's a couple things that you're going to be like, how did you get a cat to do that? And it's like, I can explain it afterwards, but it's like watching, it's like, it feels real because he's doing that. And so when I finished, I took it to a film festival in Louisville, Kentucky. And I met Joe Kelly, who immediately we started talking about the Clown Motel. And he wanted to do a short there. Now, if you don't know what the Clown Motel is, it is in Tonopah, Nevada, in the middle of nowhere. There is a graveyard right next to the entrance. And there's about 6,000 clown dolls and statues in the entrance when you walk in. Also, I forgot to tell you, there is now a Clown Motel themed room. So room 208 has my picture and a bunch of pictures from the movies in there. Yeah.
That's amazing. Because you were in it, right?
I was. I played Gold Nature, and I ripped, my first kill in that movie was I ripped somebody's tongue out. And I was so nervous being like up close with the actress, and I was just like, okay, we got to do this. And we had to like land it perfectly because there was kind of a bit of a jump scare to it. So she was here, the camera pans over to me, comes back to her, she hears me, turns around, but I've already walked around the camera to land here, so that when she turns back and the camera goes, it's like boom, jump scare. And it's really fun sitting in an audience and seeing a whole row of people just jump at something you've edited but also acted in. It's like, it's wild. And again, that's the ultimate like rush as a filmmaker, especially a horror filmmaker. You know, some people don't like jump scares, but I think they're fun.
They're essential, right? And you're okay. So I know you told me like you don't love like post effects, right? Sometimes. Can you explain like what it's like filming when it's very bloody or when it's a very gory scene? What is that choreography?
I think it's so fun. So I think you're talking about the kill scene that I had for Clown Motel 2. So doing things in one take, I feel like is very makes it more believable. So like the longer you hold a shot, the more believable the death or whatever's happening. It makes you just, when you're not breaking, it feels more real. And so I had come up with this death for Clown Motel 2, where I punch in to a character's ribs, pull out their rib, and then in the same shot come up and slice the throat. And we did it all in one shot, and the coordination was crazy because we had there was like a blood pump that the tube went down the actor's pants, out the door, and down to the first floor where they were pumping. And so they had to be monitoring, and they had to make sure that they hit it at just the right point. I had to make sure that I didn't miss the little groove because it was kind of being covered by my hand, but then I slipped my hand down midway through the shot so you could see the blood coming down. It was the coordination of that was amazing, and it looked like Dexter because half the room was covered in plastics and this little hole for the camera to look through because we didn't want to spray the camera and get, obviously ruin the camera. So that was an amazing shot. It was so fun, but it took till 4 a.m.
Yeah. So it was one shot with camera set pretty far off, or
it was probably about as far as those cameras are to us right now. Yeah.
So one drop could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. But it must be incredibly rewarding to watch it and know that there's no like editing, like
Yeah. Seeing it in the theater and seeing people's reactions. I mean, it's. Again, I keep saying it, but as a horror filmmaker, that's what you're going for. The oohs, the making people look away. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
And the jump scares.
Yeah. So since being a horror fan and then also creating your own stuff, is there sort of things you see in movies or you implement in yourself that you think don't work as well anymore, or they do, like chase scenes? There's just something that's like you don't like it when it does that, you do when it does this.
I feel like there's a certain level of CG that I just can't buy into anymore. I'm a kid that came up with Star Wars and practical effects and practical arms being ripped off and they, I mean, my gosh, the effects that they did on Friday the 13th way back in 1980 to this day stand up. So I try to avoid CG as much as I possibly can. Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to make sure your actors have to take a bath at the end of it.
Oh yes, definitely. Drained of blood. We I didn't tell you about this, but a buddy of mine, Peter, came in and we were shooting a proof of concept, and it's about this girl that's going crazy for whatever reason, and so my friend Trista Robinson, we put her in the shower and we had like 2 gallons of blood and we were like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and just, and it all went down and. We got her so, like, she looked like Carrie White. It was insane. And so we had to, like, get her into the garage and put her on a towel and make sure that she didn't stain, like, but it was amazing. It was just all bloody.
Yeah, don't touch anything, like, don't,
It just looks real, and it looks so much better.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's talk about another sort of scary movie that you kind of went home for to do, right?
Yes.
You moved out here and you went back.
It is, I don't know if it's like sci-fi, so I'm not sure if we get any scares out of it, but I know people don't like bugs, and so if you're scared of bugs,
yeah.
So in 1987, I saw, my mom had been talking about the cicadas, and they came up. They're a bug that comes up every 17 years. They're up for 6 weeks. They have the beady red eyes. They kind of like a caterpillar going into a butterfly. They come up and they develop these wings and everything in the 6 weeks they're up, and they were the perfect thing for a horror movie. And so in 2004 I did a little documentary on them, but when I was back I was like, oh my gosh, I should have done a feature. And then so I waited 17 years, and I was like, I'm gonna do, in 17 years when they come back, I'm doing a feature film where they're killing people. So I did a movie called Day of the Cicada, and the cicadas basically are murdering people, and I play a character that has been framed for murder because the cicadas killed my parents. So 17 years later, I'm coming back to try to avenge my parents, but also prove that the cicadas exist while stopping them. I don't know if I did or not, so you'll just have to watch the movie.
Yeah, and something interesting you told me is that you got some extra footage, and that was by miracle, right?
Oh yes. So when we shot in 2021, we kind of undershot when the cicadas would be out. So there weren't enough out, and we had to go back in 2024. In June, there was a super emergence. So there was a 17-year brood and a 13-year brood, and they were emerging at the same time for the first time in 221 years. The first time it's happened since 1803, and they were just all over the place. And so we were able to get a Sammy Morningstar covered, like 50 cicadas just crawling all over. She is terrified of the bugs, and so like all of her reactions were so super real, and it was great. And it was just, I mean, I can't wait for people to see that scene because it's intense.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you documented like a real thing happening,
Yes.
but you put a narrative on it. So
Yes, definitely.
That's really, really cool. Okay. So you moved here when you were like in your mid-20s, right? Like
I did. You're gonna age me. Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just saying. So along your career, from being in your mid-20s to what you're doing today, what has been a film that you're particularly proud of, or you're like, wow, you couldn't believe that that you managed to work on a project like.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say Day of the Cicada, just because I was the director and producer from start to finish. But I'm pretty proud of the first Clown Motel. We shot and we finished it in May 6th. Joe wanted to do a premiere in September, and we had pickup shots we had to do in July. Yeah, and so I basically at the time was sleeping from 3:30 in the morning to 7:30, getting up, working all day on the movie because I was just calculating. I was like, I have to get this many scenes done by the end of the summer to give us enough time to get to the composer and the audio person. So it really kind of came out pretty cool, I think. And some of the scenes are just the amount of work that I put into them, I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with directing bugs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you recently premiered something, right?
I did, Day of the Cicada.
Yeah.
I premiered in November 16th.
November 16th.
Yes.
That's cool. And are you like working on something currently, like that's coming up?
I'm perhaps tweaking some of the effects for Day of the Cicada to get that out. A buddy of mine thinks that if we do that, we could get it to Shudder versus Tubi, which the exposure would be worth it. But I'm also this very weekend going off to shoot a proof of concept for a movie I can't talk about.
But it's coming.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's 8 years in the making. And then there's another project that we were talking about that I again can't really talk about, but my buddy Pat Kuznati is doing. We did a proof of concept, and he's trying to raise the money for it right now, and I think that's really got some legs. So you might be hearing about that. It's a holiday movie, but I can't say which one.
Yeah.
So I hate being secretive.
No,
oh my
it's
gosh,
okay.
but it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
like stuff's coming up, I guess.
Yeah, and it's stuff that you're, heavily involved in producing and things like that,
Yes,
where
yes.
at the beginning of the career you were working, kind of learning from, reality TV and things
Yes.
like that, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, what has been one of the biggest challenges you've had in your many years in LA as a filmmaker?
Oh my gosh. You threw me a curveball there. You didn't tell me that question was going.
I'm sure there's stuff, everyone has
Ooh.
stuff that's been difficult.
I would say there were a couple, like, politics on set sometimes. when you get a bigger cast and crew, it's harder to keep everybody having the same vision, if that makes sense, and avoiding your cast and crew branching off into cliques or anything. Like keeping everybody on the same page and wavelength is that's hard to do sometimes. So I would say there's been a couple situations where we've had to do that. Another one could be just coming up with a budget. Budgets are, you want to pay people their worth, and so to do that you have to really dig in and find ways, like find creative ways to come up with that money, you know?
Yeah. Do you tend to work with the same people over and over again?
With the Clown Motel movie, we kind of brought new people in, but keeping the same old cast, some of the same cast. But traditionally, and I did use one or two people from Clown Motel in Day of the Cicada, but I feel like it makes the movies better. It makes you better as a director if you kind of filter in new people. You know, it's a new challenge to direct a new person. You learn that way, I think, better. And it also, I think I hate to say it, but if like the same people show up in your movies every time, I feel like it becomes less of a movie and more of a party, if that makes sense. Which is okay. That's totally fine. But for me, I want challenges. I want to be challenged with something new.
Of course. Okay. Along with that, so do you have any like advice for any like aspiring filmmakers? Maybe that perhaps that have just moved to LA like you did.
Somebody asked me that at my premiere, and I deadpan literally said, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I've had a lot of people that like run and like don't.
But to somebody that was like, no, seriously, tell me, success is measured in how many doors you kick down. You have to keep kicking down. When you were just talking to me about, whether you go to a thing tonight or whether you go back home, and you're gonna go. Yes, that's the whole thing. Keep kicking the door down. Create a team that has the same passion, but make sure they have passion. Make sure they're in it for the right reasons. And if they have that filmmaking passion, then collect them and make movies with them. And like I said, take the next 20 years and challenge yourself each year. Like have a 5-year plan. Be like, hey, did I make this many contacts? Did I make this many movies? Do I still want to be doing this? If I do, what do I need to do to keep going, right? Never give up. Yeah. Really. Yeah. It's the easy way to say it, I guess.
There you go. That's very inspiring. That's great. And you've had fun doing it and kind of incredible stories, right?
I have. Being on set is one of the funnest things. It's like a vacation with new family. You're always working hard, but like you bond so much quicker on a film set than any other place because you see everybody busting their butt. You know, it's like it's just fun and being collaborative, and that movie at the end when you all go watch it, it's everybody's effort. I always say it's a team effort. It's not just one person. So you're all watching, and it might say PA, it might say director, but you all made that movie.
All the work is to be on that set together, right? That's really
absolutely
cool. Amazing. Oh, that was amazing to get to talk to you. And thank you for sharing your stories.
Definitely, it was fun. It was definitely fun.
Yeah, where can we find your work? Do you have a production company name? Where can we find you?
I have Hazelwood Hollow. You can find me on Facebook under Day of the Cicada. I also have a lot of people go to the Golden Ager, Clown Motel's Golden Ager. Go to the Clown Motel and go check out room 208.
That's cool. There's a picture of you there.
Yes, there's plenty. There's a ton of them.
Yeah. So you're trying to spot him in his films because. And then really quickly, Russell was here earlier, and you were in his film Staycation, right?
I was. Oh my gosh, I met Russell at the Shriekfest Film Festival, and he was doing Occupants at the time, and he was like, "You have the most unique face. We're gonna use you as a zombie someday." And eventually, during the pandemic,
how do you take that?
It's very interesting. I mean, a friend of mine one time told me that I have an interesting face and I must be working a lot, and so part of me was like, okay, were you flirting with me or were you just telling me I'm ugly? So I love it though. Like Buscemi had a look and he got to work for years. So it's something I don't. I can't see myself, but I'm like, okay, if I have a look, put me in your movie.
That's awesome. So you play, can you tell us what you play, or is it like...
I'm not sure if Russell will get me.
Oh,
I
okay.
might
So
play
he's
one of the
try to spot
one of
him.
the Z's, one of the
Yeah.
Z's,
Yeah.
one of the main Z's.
All right, so look out for that because he just got distribution. He was here earlier, and that's
Yes,
really
that's
cool.
so exciting.
Yeah. So congratulations to all of you, and I want to thank everyone at ITV for watching. So bye. Stick around for more.